you will be able to understand the nature of information, definition and concept, information type, information properties, radius of information, and information studies, its scope of the information. So let's have a look. What are the information? The most important aspect is in the information. Information is a product of data and prerequisite of knowledge. When it's a product of data, then something is there. Data can be neglected. But when data become information, so it is not complete truth, but it is not again totally lie. So data is something which you need to be accept, or it cannot be complete. So that's the concept. So it is neither knowledge, neither data. It's the information. So information, the most interesting characteristic of the information is it's correlate and it is centralized in a one place and combined of one kind of knowledge. If you see the different kind of subject like electrical engineering, here you will find the basic concept of that electrical engineering is signals transmission over noisy channels as propounded in the information theory of Salmons. In computer technology, you will see information processing, storage, and retrieval as bit. In physical science, information considered as an abstraction similar to matter and energy, also analogous to the phenomena of movement and diffusion, structure, communication, and entropy. In biological science, it's also taught in the information processing in living being. Behavioral science, cognitive process of information. In social science, you will see sociology and economic of information and knowledge. Here, information is used as a resource and an economic commodity. Philosophical studies, conventional and modern studies on epistemology. Linguistic study expressing structure, coding, communicating ideas and information. And you will be able to understand what library science we studies. We studies more often on information service, information study, information seeking behavior, information's knowledge, and everything together we already study. And information science and technology also lead to the information. So they have their own kind of information. So information means every discipline has its own information. In theory of information, you will see Shannon and Weber has given a model. This model, it gives a kind of flow. In that flow, you will see there is a source. What is message and channel and receiver? So any information throughout the world, it creates one piece and it goes as a message through a channel to the receiver. This model recurs implicitly or explicitly in many of the information transfer systems that had been evolved dealing with content of information as well. Information transfer process is scientific communication. Is explained usually as a flow model corresponding to the model of information theory. Now, information definition and concept. Most writers take the position that word information is used with a many different connotation and a single piece's definition encompassing all the aspect cannot in principle be formulated. Whatever be the definition of information, a science of information could be useful for studying the structure of information science. Belkin has cleared the idea. He has made a study that information concept of information science. Belkin makes distinction between definitions and concept. The distinction is while a definition presumably define the phenomena, the concept is looking at or interpreting the phenomena. by accepting the idea of concept, it becomes easier to look for a useful concept rather than attempting a universal definition of information. He has given some kind of concept, ideas. He has Belkin postulates three approaches to the determination of the requirement of an information concept. He has given three basic postulations, means idea. One is methodological, have to do with utility of the concept. Second is behavioral, having to do with the phenomena which the concept must account for. And the definitional, having to do with the context of the concept. Again, he referred that information within the context of purposeful, meaningful communication. That means if there is any information that should be meaningful, and it should be meaningful communication, purposeful and meaningful. It should be account for the information as a process of social communication among human beings. So information always need to have a kind of social nature, and it is person to person, and of course it should be meaningful, and it should account for information being requested or desired. If somebody is asking or desired, then only information can be provided. It must be account for the relationship between the information and state of knowledge of generator and recipient. So information generator is something like that, who generate information, and recipient means the location of the information, where information you are sending or where it will reach. It should be account for the effect of information on the recipient. That is very important. Today's date, this is an era of information, I usually say. Suppose you are in the morning time, you are watching some kind of video, news, which may feel emotionally, you can feel differently. So information affect human mind and psychology also. So the effect of information is very important aspect. It is not definition is concerned, impact of information is very important. Then it should account for the varying effect of message presented in different ways. Seventh, it must be generalized beyond the individual case, and it should offer means of prediction of the effect of information. That means when any kind of information you are going to tell or you are going to spread, so it should, a person should have a prediction what will be the effect of that information. So these are the very important core concept of information. Now Verstick and Nevlin, they have structurally approached matter oriented. They have given some ideas on information. First one is structural approach, and second one is the knowledge approach. In a way which record knowledge that is built up on the basis of perception of the structure of the world. This approach is not recommended because knowledge and information are used as synonymous. That means it's look like, okay, information means knowledge, knowledge means information is clubbed together somewhere. You cannot separate them. The message approach, in which information is recorded as a symbol oriented in a physical carrier. This approach is used only by those concerned with the mathematical theory of communication. Next is meaning approach, where the semantic content of a message is accepted as information. Next one, the effect approach, or the recipient-oriented approach, which state that information occurs only as a specific effect of a process. Sixth one, the process approach, where information is seen as a process. For example, occurs in the human mind when problem and useful data are brought together. So these are the concept of versing and labeling. Brooks giving a very interesting structure of knowledge and its dimension. He is a British bibliometrician and information scientist. He has created one concept, is a knowledge. When is a knowledge is there, when one information is add on that knowledge, so it is called modified knowledge. If you look up upon the structure, you will see K is knowledge or knowledges plus I information is equal to K knowledges, and it's a modified knowledges, A's plus A's. Delta is here delta I. So here you can see which state in its very general way that the knowledge structure knowledges is changed to the new modified structure K in bracket S plus DS by the information I, the DS indicating the effect of modification. Thus, he has created a new dimension in knowledge dimension, the information towards knowledge dimension, modified. Then Bell approach. Daniel Bell, the eminent Harvard sociology professor, in his famous books, Coming to the Post-Industrial Society, a venture in social forecasting. In this subsequent book placed emphasis on the certainty of theoretical knowledge as the source of innovation and policy information in an information society. The social transformation of a society from the industrial to post-industrial society is based on the creation of a new intellectual knowledge. I will tell you, when after Second World War, there was a huge industrialization throughout the world, especially in Europe. When you are going to the industrializations, so you need to have a more knowledge, more information to build up new technology, new product for the generation, because that was the motto. Probably it was the impact of Second World War. But probably this Third World War, pandemic, COVID-19, after that, you will see different kind of atmosphere in the earth. It will be not like it was after Second World War. He asserted that this is a key tool for system analysis and decision theory based on the new theoretical knowledge. Computerization, formal rules and procedure. It involves new method which seek to substitute an algorithms, that is decision rules, for intuitive judgment. He also sketches some idea, data processing of record payrolls and government benefits, bank clearance, credit card clearance, and the like, database, characteristics, feature of population shown by the census data, market research, opinion survey, election analysis, and the like, and data processing of scheduling, airlines and railway reservation, production scheduling, inventory analysis, document delivery priorities in libraries and information center, and the like. I will tell you, database, data processing, and data. Here, database is kind of thing. I will tell you, probably many times you will see database and database. Database we are using two way. One database people are using in computer science. Database means where data being kept. And another concept we are using in library science, here also we are kept data, but we are talking online database. Online database means the quantum of books, journal are being stored in a one database, or bibliographical data or abstracting data stored in a one databases, and that database being accessed by the different library. That is different kind of database that is being used worldwide. And another database in computer science that is being used for the computational purpose, it is also called backend. So you need to understand what is the difference between two kind of database. So when we are talking of database in library science, that means database of data which can be accessed online by through the library. So today is an era of online databases. Now, Matloff has an Australian economist, immigrant to the United States during the interwar years, is said to the pioneer of information economics. Matloff's studies on information and knowledge through his seminal book in 1962, that is The Production and Distribution of Knowledge in the United States, and his subsequent publication on knowledge and information. He placed information and knowledge as a primary economic resources for the growth and development of any economy. And he differentiates two concepts, information and knowledge. Here in information, he has kept the information as a piecemeal, fragmented, particular, where knowledge is structured, coherent, and often enduring significance. Another, timely, transitory, perhaps even ephemeral, in stock, largely resulting for the flow, input of information. Here is also flow of message, and knowledge may affect the stock of knowledge by adding to it, structuring it, or changing it in any way. So he has created a kind of new dimension in information theory. Now, what exactly the information science, the power of plurals is? Another major work, that is study of information interdisciplinary message. Matloff provides an epistemized study on the number of disciplines which have information as their core. The different chapter of this work, written by experts in their respective discipline, present a neatly organized state-of-the-art report to prompt and initiate healthy debate and discussion on critical issues relating to the information studies. Matloff says the bond among the information science is their focus on information as an object of study, though it is important to bear in mind that the word information is interpreted very differently by various groups of researchers, like the natural science and the social science. Information science need no single paradigm, no overarching scientific research program, no common fundamental postulates and axioms, no unified conceptual framework. Now, relevance to the library information studies. We will say library is specifically based on the information. Library mainly source of information is the primary source of information. Probably majority of the library are subscribing journal, newspaper. So in journal and newspaper, all are primary source of information, and that has been kept. And if we take the information, if we dissect information in three categories, one is primary, that is newspaper, journal, the first-hand information which is coming. If it is secondary information, that means books, and that if it is tertiary information, so it is encyclopedia, dictionary, and the things. If you look at the library, for a time, you just think of a library. When you are entering a library, you will find a lot of newspaper, magazine, journal. At the same time, when you are into little deep of the library, then you will find lots of books. In that lots of books, you will find some of the books is kept in open. That is basically secondary source of information. And those, the thick book, which is kept inside the almirah, lock and key, that is the tertiary source of information. So, library science, the information has its own impact. Without information, library cannot exist. And the secondly, think that information are for use. Every reader is an information. Every information, it's reader. Save the time of the reader. Information library is a growing organism. So importantly, our information center is a growing organism. Now, importantly, I will tell you, The first information are for use. Any information, if it is not being used, so there is no meaning of information. We need to understand the value of information. If there is any value, that must be usable. Secondly, the information need to be arranged so neatly, so tactically, that everybody should have the accessibility of information. Because information is you can understand today's date, more you have information, you are more wise person. Simply, in the society, the more informative society means more wise society. More information oriented country, that means more powerful country. The information need to be captured, need to be accessed. And everybody has our information. So everybody here, every human mind is searching something. They are always in discovering mode. So they are trying to find out information. So there is information according to their need. Now, of course, information save the time, reader. So if you create a proper information system, then you can able to disseminate information very quickly, very passionately to the user. At the same time, information centers are the growing organism. Besides library, information center also are very, so that's where we'll find today's library and information center. It is not the library. Now it has added information center. You will see the study, you are studying master in library and information science, not the master in library science. Previously it was master in library science. Now it is MLIS, master in library and information science. So library and information are very correlated, core concept. Now coming to the, what's the time? Here another important aspect is information institutions. Information institutions has their own role. Just as the word information has no single universal accepted in definition. There is no one single way we can group or classify information. In fact, the type of information could be grouped using different characteristics depending upon the purpose of such classification. Keeping these in view, let us choose a set of characteristics on the basis of modified Shannon-Weber model of information transfer with an added one, that is information need. These are source, channel, media, information need, and recipients. Here you can understand this is source, channel, media, information need, and recipient. Here you will see source is mode of communicating message through sign, symbol, text, or graphic. Channels refer to the established carrier that disseminate information, knowledge, or any type of their surrogates. Media are the physical media that carry message or content of information. Now, information needs indicate the type of information that are normally communicated to those who seek the different type of information relevant to their need. The scope to divide information in this way, however, is almost unlimited, and recipient is the ultimate receiver of information who may also generate or create information. So these 5 channels are important. Here you can see the mathematical theory of communications. One, you will see the information source, the message is going, transmitter, then we will find one signal, and here the new concept add-on is noise. This is basically called misinformation also. This is the era of information. At the same times, this is an era of noiseful information or misinformation. Then received signal, receiver, destination. That's why आप लोग देखोगे जब ये कोविड का इंफॉर्मेशन न्यूज चैनल्स के साथ हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी बात कर रहे थे, तो उनको एक गाइडलाइन दिया गया कि आपका what will be your behavior within this COVID period. Do not create any kind of panic. Otherwise, it will create problem because in news channels are catering information to the society. They can reach up to your drawing room and will say the things. So to restrain that, they have given a kind of guideline. So to avoid the noise of the sources. Now, by source, it is called signal, message in the form of sign, symbol, words and numbers, mathematical formula, statistical and factual data, text matter, carrying larger amount of message or information, and graphic of various kind, that is photograph, picture, graph, etc. It may be worthwhile repeating here that is a context source of connotes the way in which information is communicated, that is in the form of signal, texture, matter or graphic, irrespective of the person or group who generate information. So that was a model, mathematical model, and that was the explanation. Now, by channels, you will see using channels as carrier that disseminate information for grouping. Information, we have the following term, that is literature, organizations and institutions and agencies that distribute them. Literature is a primary, secondary, tertiary channels, I have already told you. In the primary, that if you look at the different characteristic of the primary literature, you will find characteristic, there's an example, new original, new interpretations of known fact and ideas, research paper, journal article, unorganized and unrelated, each unit being separate, conference paper and proceeding, official publication, widely scattered, thesis and dissertation, project report, unassimilated into the general body of knowledge, diaries, memos, correspondence, personal file. So if you look at the primary source of information, these examples are the primary sources, and these are the characteristics of the primary sources of information. In the secondary source of information, you will see the characteristic information provided from primary sources. Exactly. The secondary sources, base of the secondary sources of information is based on the primary source of information. Here is bibliographics, current awareness bulletin. Second, organized and arranged according to the definite plan, indexing and abstracting journal. Review, state of art report. Scattered information collected, report, progress, advance. Repositories of assimilated and digested knowledge, reference books, dictionary, encyclopedia. Bibliographical key to primary literature directories. So these are the secondary sources and their example. In tertiary sources of example, you will see compilation of primary and secondary sources, bibliography of bibliographers, yearbook, organized and arranged according to a definite plan, directories, list of research in progress, guide to literature, aids in searching primary and secondary sources, information sources organization, human resources. These are the tertiary sources of information. Now here, information institutions. Yes, may I do that? Information institutions, libraries, documentation and information center, information analysis center, and such other. These institutions collect, process, analyze, disseminate all three types of literature mentioned above. So the job of the documentation center or information center is nothing to process the all three kind of document, primary, secondary, and tertiary. Now here, I have already discussed that INSDOC, DESIDOC, NISCARE, DESIDOC, NASDOC, Sahitya Kala Academy. These are the kind of documentation and information center. Those are working and they are collecting information, three type of information, then process it, analysis it, and they disseminate it to their clientele. Next is distribution agency. What are the distribution agencies of those resources? Booksellers, subscription agent, clearinghouse, information brokers, and such other. while information institutes are essentially agencies involved in provision of information service with reference to a specific clientele. Distribution agencies are large commercial agencies. So you can understand the difference between the information institutions and distribution agencies. Information institutions are on to dissemination of information to their clientele, whereas the distribution agencies are commercial, selling information their work. But the institutions were doing research and they collect information, analyze, and disseminate to their clientele. However, these distinctions are getting blurred with the advent of information technology, but still the process of analysis of information is done by the institutional information institutions or documentation center, not by the commercial people. Now, by media. Using physical media is a characteristic for grouping information. We have the following: oral, person to person, one to one, one to many, many to many. Then recorded, paper print, microfilm, audiovisual and audiovisual, visual and audiovisual, electronics and digital. Now, by recipient. Using recipient as a characteristics for the grouping information, we have the following: that receive and use information and knowledge for various requirements, individual, group, organization, institution. You can understand. By media means nothing. If it is a oral presentation, oral information, then it is person to person. Here we are doing oral presentation. One to one, one to many, many to many. We are already doing over here. If it is recorded information sources, then definitely it will be paper print or microfilm, audio, visual and audio, visual and audiovisual, electronic or digital. And if it is a recipient, using recipient as a characteristic for the grouping information, we have the following: that receive and use information and knowledge for various requirements, individual, group, organization and institutions. According to their work, they used to short kind of information. Now, information need. Using information needs as a characteristic for grouping information, we have the following information need. Look at the concept. By standard, by type. Popular, it's a very popular concept. Know why. Why it has happened. Technically, if it is scientific, know how it has happened. And technical, when it is technical kind of thing, then it is show how it has done. That is the important aspect by standard, by type. Here, know why information, more scientifically oriented information, readily accessible in the numerous secondary tools, database available in the libraries and information center, internet, and also easily transferable. Where know-how information, more technically oriented and noticed in the tool, are more difficult to locate and update, less easy to transfer. Here, know-how is a operational skill, maintenance and control capabilities, seldom recorded in the communicable form, and therefore never gets recorded in any primary or secondary tools. Transferable only through personal contact and interaction, depending very much upon the willingness of a person who has the skill to share them with others. So this is a information need, process maturity, technology, optimized resource deployment. Look at them. Information properties. Information properties can be examined from the point of view of the inherent properties. We are studying them there with a reference to these that apply information in general, scientific and technical information, information pertaining to technology and economy. In general, information is not consumed, it is in its use. Information can be shared by many. So here first one you can understand, information is not consumed in its use. So it can be used, it cannot be consumed, it cannot be swallowed. It can be used for the next refinement, new knowledge, new innovation. Whereas information can be shared by many and can be used simultaneously without any loss to anyone. The most important aspect of the information is everybody can use it without lose of anybody's. Next, it is the most democratic resources in that it can be consumed by all depending upon their intake capacity, particularly in the context of internet facility. But very importantly, here I am giving you the information on information properties, right? So we have a many student, but it is again depend upon the capacity of the student who are taking too much or taking little or taking high. So it is again depend upon the person-to-person capacity. Knowledge is dynamic, here growing and continuing, and no final word is said or will ever be said on any aspect of it. So knowledge is dynamic means when knowledge become dynamic, when knowledge become added with the new information. So when new information is come up with the knowledge, it's become more moderate knowledge. So knowledge is growing with the help of information. Now, scientific and technical information. Universal, particularly in the physical, chemical, and biological science. Open and available to all who seek them through well-organized and operated communication system. A system of peer-reviewed and mode of communication operators in its dissemination. Peer group review ensure quality control of information. Do you know peer group, student? Peer group review?
No, sir.
Okay.
Please explain.
Peer group is nothing. Suppose you have written an article to one journal, right? So that will be reviewed by the subject expert. If they agreed that, okay, your write-up is okay, acceptable, then it can be published. Without peer review, nothing can be published. So in your dissertation, in your project dissertation, you will see when you are preparing a synopsis, you are sending to the IGNOU headquarters. It is nothing. They will review your write-up. If they agreed, okay, you can do on this topic, then your peer review done and they are agreed and your thesis is accepted. Okay, so peer review is nothing, is reviewing whatever we are sending to a particular organization. Okay.
Okay.
Then healthy competition result on account of peer reviewed and speedy communication become obsolete in fact in fast developing discipline, and the obsolescence factor is quite high in some of them. Exponential growth in scientific publication has been causing concern in accessibility and availability. Of course, this is the era of information revolution. So everywhere we will find information. Now, one need to understand what is the need of information. That's why then technological and economic information. Now, technological information or economic information, both the characteristic highly competitive, particularly because of business interest for reason of security of the nation. Then security because of competition and security. So technological and economic informations are very viable and very important for the nation, for the person, for the society. And it is highly competitive. Suppose technology information, suppose with that technology, somebody has created some kind of medicine for defeating COVID-19. So if that information being leaked, so immediately everybody started doing that. So it will affect the economy of that particular country. So it is correlated. This is not the only example. There are thousands of examples on why it is so important for the technological and economic information. Now here, where exactly the barrier of information? There are many barriers of information. because it is flowing, it is coming up from one place to other place. And it is always spreading. So there are barriers. The basic barriers are man to man, because communicating to each other, your neologism. Then man to machine, synonyms and antonyms. This is level and style and form. Man to man, suppose you are giving some information in Chinese to me, I cannot understand. So I need to understand your language. So I need to have a proper label. And man machine, suppose you are asking computer, okay, computer, get printout of that page. So computer understand bits 01, 01, 02, 01 kind of thing. So man machine is synonyms and antonyms. While language is powerful means of communication, the barrier caused by jargon and level of presentation fail to convey the message intended to be communicated. So these are the barrier, and this is the barrier technology can solve in some extent, but again, it is a barrier. Then cultural and social difference may cause serious problem in communication. These problems may be overcome by appropriate presentations of information. Problem of culture and social difference, the communication multiplicity of sources, media, comprehension, socioeconomic is culture. Seepage and scatter, perception, alien or reality, misunderstanding, level of development of a country. So these are factors in the social communications. Here, in the group or the problem posed by volume, misinformation and delay in publication due to various reasons. Primary papers, propaganda, publication, rehearse, redundant data, postal transit, abstract, digest, error, translation, processing, searching, accessing, document delivery, feedback, etc. So these are the delay in handling. This is the pollution or noise over population, problem of volume, misinformation and delays. So this is the impact of the information in society. So today's date, whole world is doing research on misinformation on any aspect. The group of barriers indicate the problem of cost, political situations of country and other legal measure of a country. We are coming to the information studies scope. Information and knowledge has value. Utility only if it is communicated, which makes information and communication inseparable, sometimes even indistinguishable. Now, source channel, media, recipients and users constitute the element that form an information transfer chain. The primary focus being library and information study, it is also appropriate to examine the scope of information or relation to the expanding dimension of information services. Now, Ranganathan, 5 laws of information studies. I have shown you information is for use. Every user has their information. Every information its reader. Save the time of the user. It's correlate. Save the time of the information service staff also. Information Institute is a growing organism. Observation of B.C. Vickery of information science. He is also a scientist. The behavioral of the people as generated source, recipient, and user of information, all of who are partner in the information transfer process. The qualitative study of messages, size, growth, rate, distribution pattern of production and use. The semantic organization of messages and of channel that facilitates their identifications by source and recipients. Problem particularly associated with functions of information storage, analysis, and retrieval. The overall organization of information system and their performance in transfer. The social context of information transfer, in particular, its economic and politics.